was involved in trafficking young women and children.
I distinctly remember him smiling and enjoying the fact that he was doing this horrible thing to me that obviously terrified me and was violating me.
Finally get an ounce of self-respect and self-worth back that was taken from me.
Is there any way you could have had sex with that young woman or any young woman trafficked by Jeffrey Epstein in any of his residences?
Jeffrey Epstein didn't look like a monster. He looked like money. He looked like influence. He looked like a man who could open doors no one else could. For decades, he moved through elite circles.
During the Biden administration, I called for people looking at Epstein files. Merrick Garland dropped the ball, as did Attorney General Bill Barr, as did Alex Acosta, a whole string of failures. But you are in charge. You have the power to change things, to hold these men accountable, and you're doing the opposite. You're protecting them.
Billionaires, royalty, politicians, celebrities. Not as an outsider, but as someone welcomed into private homes, charity galas, and high-level events. His name appeared in flight logs, contact books, photographs, and court documents. And when his crimes were finally exposed, one question echoed across the world. How did so many powerful people know this man and say they didn't know who he really was? In this series, we're not dealing in internet rumors. We're looking at documented associations, reported meetings, and confirmed social links, and separating proven facts from speculation. Starting with two names whose connections raised eyebrows long before the full story of Epstein's network came crashing down. 10. Kevin Spacey.
Oh, sure, they may have tried to separate us, but what we have is too strong, it's too powerful. I mean, after all, we shared everything, you and I. I told you my deepest, darkest secrets. I showed you exactly what people are capable of. I shocked you with my honesty, but mostly I challenged you and made you think. And you trusted me, even though you knew you shouldn't.
Long before Epstein became a global headline, he was already moving in political and celebrity circles. One of the names that later surfaced in connection with him was Academy Award-winning actor Kevin Spacey. Spacey appeared on flight records from the early 2000s connected to a humanitarian trip to Africa. The trip reportedly included former U.S. President Bill Clinton and other public figures. Spacey later stated he was invited on the trip for charitable purposes and said he had no knowledge of Epstein's criminal behavior at the time.
If you'd asked me in 2015, maybe even if you'd asked me in 2002, did I know a guy named Jeffrey Epstein? I probably would have said no. I didn't know him. I've never spent any time with him. I was with the Clinton Foundation people. That's who I was with.
There is no confirmed evidence that Spacey visited Epstein's private island, and no court ruling has linked him to Epstein's crimes. His connection appears to have been through shared travel in social circles during events presented as philanthropic. But here's why this mattered. When Epstein's past conviction and later allegations became widely known, people began re-examining everyone who had traveled with him. The question wasn't just about wrongdoing. It was about judgment. Why were so many public figures comfortable being around a man whose wealth, background, and activities were already surrounded by mystery? Spacey, like many others, distanced himself after Epstein's arrest, saying he was unaware of any illegal conduct. His name remains an example of how Epstein used high-profile company to build credibility.
I felt he put the president at risk on that trip to South Africa because there were these young girls. And we were like, who is this guy? So I will say this.
There were young girls on those flights?
There were young girls on those flights, yeah.
9. Prince Andrew.
July of this year, Epstein was arrested on charges of trafficking and abusing dozens of underage girls. One of Epstein's accusers, Virginia Roberts, has made allegations against you.
If one connection pushed the Epstein story into global scandal territory, it was Prince Andrew, Duke of York. Prince Andrew and Epstein were photographed together multiple times in the early 2000s. The prince was known to have stayed at Epstein's properties, including his New York mansion. Their association was described as a friendship within elite social circles, introduced through mutual acquaintances tied to wealth and philanthropy. The situation escalated when Virginia Giuffre, one of Epstein's accusers, alleged she had been trafficked and forced into encounters with Prince Andrew when she was underage. Prince Andrew denied the allegations and stated he had no recollection of meeting her.
Is there any way you could have had sex with that young woman or any young woman trafficked by Jeffrey Epstein in any of his residences?
No.
In 2022, he reached a civil settlement with Jeffrey without admitting wrongdoing. This case became one of the most public and controversial links to Epstein, not only because of the allegations, but because it showed Epstein's access went beyond celebrities and billionaires. It reached into royalty. Prince Andrew stepped back from public royal duties as scrutiny intensified.
His princely title is gone. Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, as he's now formally known, is preparing to leave Royal Lodge. The banishment has left the disgraced royal increasingly exposed.
His association with Epstein remains one of the most widely reported and documented social connections in the entire case. And this is only the beginning. The deeper we go, the more we see a pattern. Powerful names, elite gatherings, and a man who seemed to know everyone. Next, we move further up the list, into figures whose influence shaped technology, science, and global politics. 8. Michael Jackson.
Do you still think that it's acceptable to share your bed with children?
Of course. Of course, why not? If you're going to be a pedophile, if you're going to be Jack the Ripper, if you're going to be a murderer, it's not a good idea. That I'm not.
Michael Jackson's name has occasionally surfaced in discussions about Epstein, mostly because of the overlapping celebrity circles in New York and Palm Beach during the early 2000s. Reports over the years have suggested Jackson may have briefly met Epstein through mutual social connections. One account claimed Jackson visited Epstein's Palm Beach property once, but reportedly left early, saying he felt uncomfortable. However, there are no confirmed flight logs placing Jackson on Epstein's plane and no verified evidence that he visited the private island. No court documents accuse Jackson of involvement in Epstein's crimes. His connection appears limited to a possible social introduction in elite circles where wealthy donors, celebrities, and financiers often cross paths at events, parties, and fundraisers. This example highlights something important about Epstein's world. Simply being in the same social orbit as him did not automatically mean participation in wrongdoing. But when Epstein's crimes became public, even brief or unclear associations started getting re-examined under a harsher light. For Jackson, the link remains vague, social, and unproven beyond reports of possible meetings. 7. Bill Clinton.
Photographs show the former president with Michael Jackson and Diana Ross on a plane. Another shows this unidentified woman sitting on his lap. Clinton has denied any wrongdoing through a spokesman.
Former U.S. President Bill Clinton is one of the most discussed names connected to Epstein, largely because of documented flight logs. Records show Clinton flew on Epstein's plane multiple times in the early 2000s, often connected to trips described as humanitarian or charitable work through the Clinton Foundation. Clinton has stated he never visited Epstein's private island and knew nothing about illegal activities. He has also said their interactions stopped after he became aware of concerns about Epstein. Investigations have not charged Clinton with crimes related to Epstein. Still, the number of flights and the close access Epstein had to a former president raised major public questions. How did Epstein position himself close to world leaders? How did he earn that trust? This association became a symbol of how Epstein built legitimacy, surrounding himself with globally respected figures, making himself appear like a connected philanthropist rather than what prosecutors later described. For many observers, Clinton's name in the logs became less about proof of wrongdoing and more about illustrating how deeply Epstein had embedded himself among the powerful. And we're climbing higher. Next, we enter the world of science and tech billionaires, people whose influence shaped the modern world. 6. Stephen Hawking.
How did respected physicist Stephen Hawking turn up in the Jeffrey Epstein documents?
When most people hear the name Stephen Hawking, they think of genius, black holes, time, the universe itself, which is why his reported association with Jeffrey Epstein shocked many when court documents from later legal proceedings mentioned him. In 2006, Epstein helped fund a science conference in the Caribbean attended by leading physicists and academics. Hawking was among the scientists who participated. The event was described as an academic gathering, part of Epstein's effort to position himself as a supporter of science and intellectual research. There is no evidence Hawking was aware of or involved in any criminal activity connected to Epstein. His interaction appears tied to professional and academic settings where Epstein acted as a donor and sponsor. But this reveals something important about Epstein's strategy. He didn't just surround himself with celebrities and politicians. He sought legitimacy in intellectual circles too. By associating with respected scientists, he crafted an image of a wealthy patron of knowledge, a man interested in ideas, not crimes. After Epstein's arrest, every name linked to his events came under scrutiny, even if their involvement was limited to conferences or academic discussions. Hawking's presence reflects how Epstein used philanthropy and science as a gateway into respected institutions. The pattern is becoming clear. Epstein attached himself to credibility in politics, in fame, and now in science. 5. Bill Gates.
Jeffrey, in 2011, the focus was always he knew a lot of very rich people, and I was foolish to spend time with him. I was one of many people who regret ever knowing him.
Few names carry as much weight in technology and global philanthropy as Bill Gates. So when reports confirmed that Gates met with Epstein multiple times, the public reaction was immediate. Their meetings occurred after Epstein's 2008 conviction, which made the connection more controversial. Gates later acknowledged meeting Epstein and described it as a huge mistake. According to statements from Gates and his representatives, discussions were framed around philanthropy and global health initiatives. Gates has denied any deeper relationship and said he cut off contact after realizing the association was a reputational risk. There is no evidence he was involved in Epstein's criminal activities. Still, this raised a different kind of question. How did Epstein, already a convicted offender, continue gaining access to some of the most powerful people on Earth? His wealth, connections, and ability to present himself as a donor opened doors that, in hindsight, many believe should have remained closed. The Gates Association highlights something disturbing. Even after legal trouble, Epstein's social engineering skills allowed him to remain inside elite networks. And we're not done. Next, the list moves toward figures tied to royalty, global business power, and eventually two of the most politically explosive names of all. The deeper we go, the more the pattern shows. Epstein didn't chase fame. Fame came to him. 4. Ghislaine Maxwell.
She had his money, he had her contacts, but Ghislaine was much more conniving and smart than Epstein ever was.
Before Epstein became a household name, there was Ghislaine Maxwell, the socialite who helped open doors into elite circles. Maxwell, daughter of British media tycoon Robert Maxwell, was deeply embedded in high society in New York, London, and Palm Beach. She attended charity events, mingled with royalty, academics, and celebrities, and was often described as Epstein's close associate and gatekeeper. She helped introduce him to influential people and appeared alongside him at gatherings where powerful figures felt comfortable. Unlike many names on this list, Maxwell was not just socially connected. She was criminally charged. In 2021, she was convicted in federal court for helping recruit and groom underage girls for Epstein's abuse. Her conviction confirmed what prosecutors argued for years. Epstein did not operate alone. Her presence explains how Epstein managed access.
Epstein was Pinocchio and she was Geppetto. She was the guy controlling
the strings.
Jeffrey. Yep, she was pulling the strings. She had his money, he had her contacts.
Maxwell gave him social credibility, especially in European and elite East Coast circles. She could walk into rooms filled with titles, wealth, and influence and bring Epstein with her. Understanding Maxwell is key because she was a bridge between Epstein and many of the powerful names people later questioned. She wasn't just part of the social scene. She was part of the system that allowed Epstein's world to function. 2. Elon Musk.
This is an email
from Elon Musk to Jeffrey Epstein asking what day or night will be the wildest party on your island.
Elon Musk's name has surfaced in discussions mostly through photographs and social overlap, rather than documented deep ties. A widely circulated photo shows Musk with Ghislaine Maxwell at a public event in 2014. Musk has stated he did not know Maxwell personally and said she photobombed him. There are no confirmed flight logs placing Musk on Epstein's plane and no verified evidence he visited Epstein's island. Reports suggest Musk and Epstein may have crossed paths briefly through tech and investor circles in New York, where high-level networking events often blur lines between industries. But Musk has publicly denied any meaningful relationship and said he refused invitations to Epstein's gatherings. This reflects something important. Epstein attempted to insert himself into tech wealth circles the same way he did in politics and science. Whether every target accepted is another story. In Musk's case, the connection appears limited and socially incidental based on available records. But when Epstein's network became public, even a single photo became fuel for suspicion, a sign of how radioactive his name became. 1. Donald Trump.
Have you ever socialized with Donald Trump in the presence of females under the age of 18?
Epstein pauses.
Yes, sir. Yes? Yes, sir.
Perhaps the most debated association is Donald Trump. Trump and Epstein were known to each other in the 1990s and early 2000s in New York and Palm Beach social scenes. They were photographed together at parties, and Trump once described Epstein in a 2002 interview as someone who liked beautiful women.
Questions and allegations about Donald Trump's behavior towards women. ET discovered this footage in our archive.
Thursday night. You're going up the escalator? I'm going to be dating her in 10 years. Can you believe it?
A comment often revisited after Epstein's crimes were revealed. However, records show their relationship later cooled. Trump reportedly banned Epstein from Mar-a-Lago after an incident involving a club member's daughter, according to later reports. Trump has said he was not a fan of Epstein and had not spoken to him for years before Epstein's 2019 arrest.
I had a falling out with him a long time ago. I don't think I've spoken to him for 15 years. I wasn't a fan.
Trump's name does appear in some flight logs, but there is no confirmed record placing him on Epstein's private island. He has not been charged with crimes related to Epstein. His connection illustrates how Epstein embedded himself in wealthy Palm Beach social life, attending the same parties and clubs as major business figures long before his crimes were fully exposed. Looking at these names together shows a disturbing pattern. Not proof that every famous person was involved in crimes, but proof of something else. Jeffrey Epstein built a world where power met privilege, and reputation replaced caution. Some were acquaintances, some attended events, some traveled with him. Few asked hard questions until it was too late. The lesson isn't about celebrity gossip. It's about how dangerous people can hide in elite spaces when influence becomes a shield. And that is the part that should concern everyone.